Before this guide begins, I want to say that I put time codes in the description in case you are looking for a specific achievement. Alright, now on to the video. Welcome to my 100% achievement guide of Paint the Town Red. I'm going to be starting with the Beneath achievements, and I'll show you the really easy ones to get first, at least the ones close to the lobby. The first one would be Powered Up. When you get a gem shard, which I'll show you the shard lords a bit later, you can spend them here, and the achievement requires you to upgrade one of the classes. So in this case for me, I upgraded Spectre to Wraith, because in my opinion I like Spectre the most, because I like the speed that the character offers. But I highly recommend, before spending your shards on upgrading a character, that you go for a better compass. That way you can see where the shard lords are. And, well, I'll show you the compass once we get into the area. But another achievement is Go Beneath, which is what I'm doing right now. You just load in the world. But as you can see, there's a compass at the top of my screen. If you upgrade compass, you can see that blue arrows will be where the exit is, yellow where shop is. They'll show like a blue shard where shard lords are, and it makes stuff a lot easier to get those 15 shards, because 15 shards is a lot. The other achievement is Inevitable, which is really simple. All you have to do is die. Probably the easiest achievement. Well, I guess Beneath is easier since it's kind of mandatory to get this one. There you go. 3 achievements. As you will see, most of the achievements I will show in this guide is me voicing over how I got them over streams that I have done in the past to get all of the achievements. With that said, the next achievement that I got was Ally. And you will come across a challenge room, and when you go into a challenge room, it usually has gates, and you have to have all the players if you are doing it in multiplayer. And all achievements in Beneath are able to be done in multiplayer. Although I'm not too sure about the other ones, because I had a hard time getting them to unlock while in multiplayer. However, once you finish killing all of the enemies in the challenge room, typically it'll be around the first challenge room you come across in your adventure in Beneath, and this will unlock the character that allows you to spend shard lords. It'll also, or shards that you get from shard lords, it also unlocks shard lords. It's this guy. And once you beat the challenge room, he will be teleported back to the hub where you can purchase stuff. Throughout your adventures in Beneath, you'll find these areas called shops. And the achievement called Upgrades happens when you spend purple gems you get from defeating enemies on the persistent upgrades from this merchant. And once you fully max out the requirements for one of these upgrades, you'll get the achievement. When entering a new floor, you may get a notification that says a great power reigns here, and that means a shard lord is on the floor. Now if you look at the compass, there's a blue shard on it, and that means that is the direction in which the shard lord is. In this case, it is the Crawler. Now once you defeat that shard lord, you get the achievement called the Hunter. And defeating one of those shard lords drops a blue shard, and those shards are what is used to upgrade classes to get the Powered Up achievement I mentioned earlier. Both Progress and Archeologist are fairly straightforward achievements. For Progress, what you have to do is to complete 3 floors of caves, and then you should arrive in a hub area like this. Now, you can spend all of your purple gems and whatnot, but once you cross into that blue door ahead of you, you will enter the caverns, the crystal caverns, and then you should unlock the Progress achievement. Once you get through 2 levels of the crystal caverns, you'll come across another hub area like the previous one, and once you go through the blue door, you will enter the ruins, unlocking the Archeologist achievement. On the 3rd floor of the ruins, you'll come across the Necromancer, which is the first boss of Beneath. Once you beat him, you'll get the Resurrect This achievement. Now, this boss is relatively easy. First, you want to take out the wizards which hold up a shield, and you can easily find them based off the red lasers connecting his minions to the Necromancer. Now, once you take out all of the Necromancer's minions, the Necromancer does not have that much health. I highly recommend having my favorite weapon, the Black Katana, fully enchanted for this fight, because it takes out his health really well. He can also respawn enemies, which can be quite annoying if you can't deal a lot of damage quickly. A shield is also really useful because he summons green orbs that trace after you, and it's nice to be able to block them. The next boss you want to fight is the Aberration, but first you have to get there. So the first thing you need to do is at the very beginning of a round, go to the altar and pick up the half of a tablet, and you want to hold on to that. In Crystal Caverns 1, you'll find a similar altar-like area, and when you approach it with the half of tablet, it will connect to the other half of a tablet and teleport you to a hub area. Now this hub area leads to the next biome, which is the islands, and that is where the Aberration is, and once you enter this hub, you will get the achievement into another dimension. In Islands 2, you will come across a structure like this, and this is where the Aberration resides. Now this boss is just a glorified version of Whack-A-Mole. All you have to do to beat it is destroy the tentacles that pop up, and they're really easy. They don't attack you very well. I think the blue one shoots out acid balls, which are really easy to dodge, and sometimes the island will spawn enemies to deal with you. In that case, you can quickly take care of the enemies. The most dangerous ones are probably the crawlers, since they do an insane amount of damage. But as you can see, it did not take long to defeat this boss at all. There should be only a few tentacles left, and they don't have a lot of health either. There may be a lot of them, but it's not hard to take them all out. And once you defeat the Aberration, you'll get the achievement Murder Island. The next boss you're going to want to face is the Trickster. However, it is the hardest and probably most complicated boss to get to. You'll be getting 4 achievements in trying to get to and beating this boss. The first step and the first achievement is called Ghost Trap. So what you want to do is on Ruins 1, you'll go to the shop and purchase that item that I just picked up. To finish off getting this achievement and this step, you want to place the item once you have summoned the Pursuer. Now you can summon the Pursuer by squeezing the heart in the shop or waiting long enough. And once the Pursuer happens, or spawns in, lure it to the Ghost Trap and it will be teleported to the hub. Now, you have to watch out because the Pursuer kills you if it runs into you. So make sure you are completely ready in an open area whenever to set down the trap. The next step and achievement is called Exorcism. So what you want to do is grab the heart from the Pursuer that you locked up in the previous achievement, and it is located in the room right next to the main room in the hub. After that, what you want to do is find the Jerk, and he is the character that is wandering around, looking very triumphantly. You've probably seen him in the past, and he typically shoves you whenever you approach him. Now what you want to do again is have him shove you, getting the anomalous material and heart on him. Eventually the Jerk will wander into the hub, where there is a minigun on the ceiling. Once he approaches the corner, the gun will start firing at him. Now, once the gun kills him, you will get the Exorcism achievement. Now it is time to go to the construct where the Trickster resides. Now, once you get into another Beneath round, you will notice a red blob that spawns right here from the red trail and blood that flows down from the dead jerk. Now, it will continue to grow as you complete multiple Beneath rounds. You can quickly do it by starting a Beneath round, then exiting, and then restarting, or dying over and over again. And then once it looks like this, a deflated bag, and footsteps walking away, it'll have a message like he has escaped, or something like that. And once that happens, it is time to head to the construct. On one of the ruins floors, in this case for me, it was ruins 2, you'll notice bloody footsteps whenever you spawn in. And that's when you know the boss is on that floor. As you can see, there's bloody footprints. You will eventually find a wizard constrained to a statue with a staff on that floor. Now, what you want to do with that wizard is have a pursuer run into it, because you want that staff, and that wizard is not killable by normal weapons. And once the pursuer runs into it, you'll be able to pick up the staff. Once the pursuer hits the wizard, you're able to now grab the staff. Now what you want to do with the staff is head towards where the pursuer initially came from. And you'll know where it initially came from because whenever you aim at it, the staff will turn red. And it will look like a portal when you find it. Once you find the portal, what you need to do is shoot it with the staff that you acquired from the wizard. And then you just head into the portal. Once you head through the portal, you'll arrive in the hub area for the construct, unlocking the achievement Virtual Reality. In the construct, you'll find warped scenarios, where after completing all of them, you'll have to fight the Trickster. Before fighting the Trickster, I recommend having 2 weapons. One is the shotgun, which is found in one of the prison cells, right next to a toilet. The other is the black katana, which is found after defeating the Yakuza boss in the warped disco scenario. Now it is time for the Trickster, which is what I believe to be the hardest boss. So the goal of this boss fight is to decrease the boss's health, and then after decreasing the boss's health, it will shoot out a green prism or a green cube. And then what you want to do is click E on the green cube, and it will start building turrets on a wall. Now, once you have grabbed the green cube 3 total times, the boss fight will end. The boss also has multiple stages. This one, the prison one, is hard to deal with because it shoots shockzins at you and has a shield, making it hard to damage. The boxing phase is easy to dodge, or easy to damage because he just boxes. This stage, the pirate stage, is one where you should probably be running around at all times, because landing in the water instantly kills you. And the Trickster in the middle will be constantly firing cannon shots at you, which can knock you into the water. Now, once you've fully assembled all the turrets will fire at the Trickster and kill him, unlocking the achievement Post-Traumatic Mess. For the achievement Ancient Battlefield, you have to get to the final biome. And to do that, you have to first defeat either the Aberration or the Necromancer again after you've already defeated the 3 main bosses of the Trickster, the Aberration, and the Necromancer. Once you have defeated the Aberration or the Necromancer, the door at the end of this tunnel area will open. And once you go through it, you'll arrive at the biome Fire and Blood, and you'll unlock the achievement Ancient Battlefield. For the achievement The End, you have to defeat the final boss. And to do that in Fire and Blood, first you have to go through the portal that you just saw. Now, the boss itself is a joke. It's really easy. But first you have to defeat all 6 of the Shard Lords. So at first, you will not be able to damage the final boss. You'll just have to run around his attacks and live. After a while, 2 of the Shard Lords will pop out at a time. And once you defeat them, it will destroy 2 pillars. Little skeletons will also spawn around the edge, which are really easily killed. But yeah, at the current moment, as you can see, I am running around because I cannot physically cause any damage to the boss. Now, once all 6 pillars are destroyed, that's when you're able to damage the boss. Out of all of the Shard Lords, I highly recommend watching out for the Crawler, as I have found that it is able to insta-kill you, even with a whole bunch of health. Now, once you defeat all of the Shard Lords, he turns into a pitch black monster with a red sword, who acts very similar to the Katana boss, meaning it is very easy to destroy. I was a little wary at first, using a crossbow as my main weapon to stay back, but the boss is honestly really easy to dodge and deal damage to, so if you have a strong melee weapon like the Black Katana, you shouldn't have a problem just rushing in and attacking. And then once you kill it, you will unlock the final achievement in Beneath, called Hero. These next few achievements I won't have to go over much due to how easy they are to get. The first one is Soul Survivor, and all it is going into scenario and defeating one of the many scenarios without using a modifier. That's one of the first things most people do in the game. And then in challenge mode, make sure you are in challenge mode for these specific achievements. To get Bar Brawler, just defeat the biker bar, which is the same as doing... Challenge mode is the same as doing a normal scenario without any modifiers. Disco, you'll get Blood on the Dance Floor. Prison, you'll get Jailbreak. Pirate Cove, you'll get Swabbed the Deck. And Saloon, you will get the achievement Ragtime. For Biker Bar Speedrun, it is all about knowing where the sharp and dangerous weapons are. So there's a machete on top of this moose that will come in handy. And remember, the speedrun does not start until you take your first stab at an enemy. So it will be useful to look around and discover where the weapons are. Now, another machete is with the biker boss. So it is good to go and grab the machete from him. And there are multiple other sharp objects that I will be grabbing in this speedrun, and that would be really helpful to use. There's another one in the rafters up here. And that is all the machetes that I believe are in this level, but that should help take out a majority of the enemies. Berserk is also really helpful to use during these speedrun achievements, because when enemies are grouped up together, you can quickly take out a huge amount of them without wasting weapon durability. Keep in mind the pull cues as well. While they're not the strongest of weapons, they are really good at stabbing and keeping your enemies at a distance. So they can be really helpful. In this back room there is a pipe. A tire pipe, I think that's what they're called. And it's a very useful blunt weapon that does a decent amount of damage. There is also another boss-like enemy in this map, the Boxer. But then again, the Boxer is a really easy enemy and you won't have to worry about that much. I think at the end I end up taking him out with a pull cue. The Chefs are another really good weapon source to note because they have knives. And those can one-shot if you hit in the middle of their head from any side, which can be quite useful. So is the cleaver on the dartboards. And I think the Chef also dropped a cleaver that I did not need to grab in this one. There is a knife as well that is on top of where the bar is. I will go and grab it after this Berserk because all the enemies were bunched up together. Berserk is a really helpful tool to mow through a large amount of enemies. And you don't actually need to fall all the way down again when grabbing this knife, so it is useful if you're done with downstairs and fighting upstairs. There's typically a decent amount of enemies in this back room upstairs, so make sure you have something handy, as there's not a lot of weapons in this room. There's a bottle, but it's not the most. I run away because I like the downstairs better, because that's where all the pool cues are. And more weapons means faster win rate. The Boxer will come out on its own, so you don't really need to go down and face him yourself. But it's always nice to have pool cues just ready to take him out. In this particular case, I had a straggler that I could not find. But even with that, knowing where all the weapon locations were, ended up allowing me to get this achievement. For the prison speedrun, the first thing you want to do is attack this guy, which is attacking another person, and what happens is it causes a lot of the prisoners to be friends with you. I also recommend using prison shivs, as they can one-shot similar to knives if you hit them directly in the head. Next, you want to grab an apple-like fruit and then toss it to the prisoner, or the large prisoner that's in his cell. And that makes him friendly with you. So that basically turns half of the force in this level into your friends. And that's insanely helpful. Keep in mind, though, that you will have to take out your friends eventually, because they will turn enemies once all the other enemies are defeated. But in this case, that doesn't really matter too much. And the shotgun is also really helpful to get if you jump up and hit crowds. You can knock out a lot of the enemies. In my opinion, this is probably the easiest speedrun to do, even though it's the shortest time, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. With the combinations of shivs everywhere, batons, tasers, and having allies, it becomes really easy. Funny enough, I actually was able to complete this speedrun on my first try, comparing to a lot of the other ones which took like 20 or 30 minutes to complete. Berserk is also really useful, again, once you're in large crowds. Pay attention to your health. I wasn't very good at doing that in this case, but especially if you're going to crowds with Berserk, you want to make sure not to die. The machete boss, or the biker boss, has a machete, which is useful to take out stragglers, and I used that at the very end. Weights are also a decent weapon, but so are batons and tasers. There's a lot of decent weapons in this. This pole is probably not the best weapon. It just had a really high amount of uses comparing to most other times. I had good RNG this run. Once you finish taking out all the enemies, then you should get the the prison speedrun achievement, as long as it's under 2 minutes and 30 seconds. For the Saloon Speedrun, there are a lot of sharp objects hidden around, and as the time does not start until you attack someone, you can go ahead and move some of the sharp objects to a common area that you can use. Like downstairs, a lot of enemies end up piling up, so it is nice sometimes to have them all located in one place. Although I only put a few in areas, at least I take knives and sharp objects away from areas I don't typically go to. But it's also really good before starting one of the Saloon speedruns to go around the entire place and check for all the sharp objects, because they're hidden everywhere. They're not all in one place, and there's no direct super strong object like katana or machete. There are some stronger objects, like there is a gun in a safe. You'll see that later in this speedrun. But I typically start upstairs and then work my way downstairs. Although I went for the gun area first. There's a lot of sharp objects in the safe area. The safe area will only open as well, like in the downstairs area, once you've dropped down from upstairs. And remember, with the knives, it is best to hit directly in the middle of the head. That way you can cause the most damage or take them out one shot. Now, in my opinion, this is the hardest of the speedrun. This took me about an hour to be able to do. Berserk is, again, I will repeat over and over, really useful. Don't use Smite, because that you can't kill nearly as many enemies as fast. And Shockwave kind of just throws people around, not really taking people out. There are some knives in this kitchen as well. I like to leave some of the knives spread out, because sometimes the enemies will be in different locations. So having them all in one exact general location isn't the best, but it's alright if you leave them downstairs, close to where most of the action will be happening. Here I'm just double checking, make sure there's people upstairs, because there's always stragglers that form up into groups of 2 or 3 that like to hide away and are really annoying to find in the end. So it's good to aggro as much people as possible. Berserk is also really good once everyone's aggroed, because then it's just a stream of people coming for you while you just sit there and fight. Cleavers are a weapon. They're not the best. They're a lot stronger if you hit them in the legs. I just was never that good at it, because the legs are similar to the brain, and that if you break them, they immediately die. But yes, this will probably take you quite a few tries. At least it did for me. Especially if you don't know where all of the sharp object locations are. There's always a straggler at the end of every speedrun. Well, with that, I got the Saloon Speedrun achievement. Arena Challenger, Arena Gladiator, Arena Champion, and Arena 1 Speedrun are all not very easy to complete. They're all arena challenges. So what I'm going to do is go over the strategies for each stage of each arena to help you get those achievements. So starting with Arena 1 and its speedrun, what you want to do in the first round is focus on getting gladiuses or any other sharp weapon. I prefer gladiuses because, well, they're a lot easier to get one-shots on. Spears and hatchets also do pretty well, but besides that, it's just kill them as quickly as possible. For round 2 in Arena 1, what you want to do is strive for grabbing cutlasses, as those can one-shot enemies really easily. If you don't have a weapon straight away, you can kick down the enemies to grab them. Using knives is also effective if you are good at stabbing people directly in the middle of their face. Arena 3, you'll find a machete hidden away in the middle of the spikes. Run for that immediately. This will make the boxers really easy to take care of, as they only take one hit each. For round 4, you will find a pimp cane behind a pillar to your left. So what you want to do is waste that all on the katana boss, as it does an insane amount of damage. Once you've done that, go ahead and kick down the bodyguards to try to get some sort of stabby or hitting weapons. And you want to focus all your damage on the machete boss. That way, you can grab the katana once he dies, and continue to slice up the bodyguards really easily. For Arena 5, there is a machete on top of one of the pillars. You want to grab it before it fully raises. Then you can go ahead and start taking out some of the chefs in one hit. Make sure to note where they die, because you will want the long steak knives. Although the cleavers work as well, the long steak knives easily can one-shot the enemies. For round 6, it's just a boxer. It's really easy. You just repeatedly punch it over and over in the back of the head. In round 7, you should try to attack the pimp first, because then you can get the pimp cane, which is really powerful. Then you want to go for Blackbeard next, because he's dangerous with his lunges. And then the biker boss afterwards. Then all it is grabbing powerful weapons and taking out the rest of the henchmen. In the 8th round, it is cops versus prisoners, and the best weapon is the taser. So what you want to do is grab the taser and immediately start using it against the tall prisoner, as it could lunge and do the most damage to you. Once you have taken out the large prisoner, you have no worries, and you can just take out the rest of the enemies as normal. In the 9th round, you want to have all of the enemies, the pirate enemies, group up. You can do this by circling around them. This is for shotgunning the top of their heads, as you'll be able to do the most damage and get the most kills when they're in groups. Now, Berserk is also very useful in this stage, and you can pop it and take care of a lot of enemies. After your Berserk runs out, then you can move on to using the pistols as shooting weapons, and then banging weapons once you run out of Berserk. The final round is the longest by far, and I have a particular strategy for it. I don't know if it's the most effective, but it's the way I do it. So first, you want to take the metal bar from the pimp. Now, you don't want to worry about the pimp. You never want to attack him with any weapons. Whenever he gets close, just kick him away, because he can get kicked down, and he's basically not a worry in this fight. So first, you want to take out the biker. You want to take his bar, and then take out Blackbeard, because he lunges and is fairly dangerous. After Blackbeard, I go and take out the buff prisoner, because it can also lunge and do a lot of damage. And then it's just using the rest of the glasses and chairs to take out the katana boss. Once the katana boss is dead, You can use the pull given by the katana boss to take out the boxer, and then you just have to deal with the pimp. As you left him alone or kicked him, you can do whatever you want. He's really easy to defeat as he can be knocked down. In this speedrun, I got 8.5 minutes, so with those strategies, you should be more than fine. Now that we got Arena 1 out of the way, we're on to Arena 2. The first level is another just take out the enemies with pretty overpowered weapons. In round 2, what you want to do is find anything that's laying around, specifically stronger items, but you want to focus on the boxer, because the boxer is probably the most powerful one out of all the enemies. Once you have taken down the boxer, the rest is just take out the enemies with whatever you find laying around. And remember, this isn't timed, so you don't have to go fast. And by not timed, I mean there's no speedrun achievements for the later arenas. So in round 3, all you need to do is kick down an enemy to grab its weapon and then just take him out. You want to focus a bit on Blackbeard because, again, he's a boss enemy and quite dangerous. He is pretty camouflaged with this suit, but once you take him out, it's really easy to finish off everyone else. In round 4, you'll notice Gladius is on the ground. Those will be your greatest weapon and greatest friend in this battle. So what you want to do is, whenever you run out of Gladius durability on one of your swords, if you can't find any Gladiuses, use Shockwave, because it probably means someone picked it up, and once you use Shockwave, they'll drop their weapon for you to pick up. Just do that over and over until you finish off the entire crowd. In round 5, it's just whack everyone with whatever you find. There's not a lot to find, but you can also use traps to your advantage because a lot of people are kickable, as there's spitting traps, and the ores are really helpful. The pirate captains are someone you have to watch out for, but again, it's not timed, so you don't need to worry too much about what weapon you need to grab. Round 6 is a long one. To do it reliably, what you want to do is circle around the middle fire pit. What this allows is the AI for the giant Blackbeards to just run around in the fire pit. It's going to take a while as the fire pits don't last very long and it takes time for them to burn, so all this round is patience. In round 7, you want to focus on the pimps first. That is because whenever you kick them, you can kick them into spikes and instantly take them down. They also drop pimp canes from it. Now, then you can use the pimp canes to take out the biker bosses, and then all you're left is the cops, which I don't think can be kicked down in this stage. I'm pretty sure I tried and it didn't work well for me. The final round is relatively easy. All you gotta do is hit the katana boss over and over again. There are plenty of spears laying around that you can use, and if you can keep the direction of the katana boss on you instead of your allies will be able to do a decent amount of damage if left alive, but they will be killed off pretty easily. But there's multiple piles of spears around, and using those this final round is probably easier than the last round. Arena Challenge 3. This, in my opinion, is the easiest arena out of all of them if you know what you're doing. So the first round is taking out the shield. It teaches you how to deal with shield people, and the way you want to do it is wrapping around and hitting them in the back. Round 2 is also pretty easy. You just grab a random weapon and start swinging. There are plenty of weapons that enemies have that you can use, and the only hard part is 3 shield guys, but if you use the same strategies you did last time, then you can take them out with ease. Round 3. You just use bottles and whatnot to your advantage and take out all the enemies. There's not a lot of technique to use in this challenge, except maybe hit the ones with the shields in the head so they can go down faster. The ores are also going to be really helpful weapons if you can get one of those. Round 4 is a bunch of boxers. This may seem dangerous, but it's really not. You can just run around them while hitting them over and over again. I'm pretty sure I didn't even use the shield. There's so many weapons around that you can just wrap around them and hit them over and over until they all die. 5th round is a free-for-all. Another really easy one. There's an ore that you can use to do a lot of damage and take people out. I recommend prioritizing people with weapons or shields that you can end up taking. For round 6, there is a gun that you can use that's in front of you, but if you miss, you can still hit him and do a decent bit of damage. And you don't have to worry too much about this stage, because the cops are surprisingly fragile, and the enemies can be taken down really easily. And the flame towers can be stood upon for flame to attack them if you really wanted to. The final round is the hardest round though. So what you want to do is grab the katana first, and you want to wrap around and hit them. You want to hit them in the back of the head. Now, you don't want to jump over them, because I know some strategies say to do that, but what happens is they lunge forwards and hit each other's shield. Now that doesn't break their shield, it breaks their spears, leaving you with no weapons and having a really bad time. So, once you've taken out at least one or two, there will be spears on the ground that you could use, and you just repeat the process over and over again, collecting more weapons as you take out more and more enemies. Just continue wrapping around and hitting them in the back. You'll be down to your last ones soon enough, and it's honestly a really simple round, but difficult if you try to rush it. Arena Challenge 4, this is when things start getting a bit harder. So, the first round is pretty easy. There's no weapons, so it takes kind of a while. What you want to do is just start swinging until you're able to get Shockwave. Once you're able to get Shockwave, you can use Shockwave in the middle of the monsters because they're quite squishy, and being knocked back, they typically die. So you can get Shockwave again almost immediately after using Shockwave. As you can see, I'm only 1 bar away from Shockwave after using it, and you just do that over and over again until you finish the round. Round 2. This one is another difficult one. What you want to use is the Gladius, and you have to aim for the legs of these creatures, as hitting them in the red crystal part does almost nothing. So just run around and try to hit them in the legs, and you want to be constantly moving so they don't hit you with their lasers. Round 3 is quite easy. It's just a beat 'em up, and you have allies, so just grab weapons and take out all the normal enemies. All the creatures themselves are allies, it's just people. Round 4 requires a lot of strategy. The first thing you want to immediately do is run for a shield, because they will all fire off a powerful volley of magic attacks, and you need to block it or else you will die. The next thing you want to do is quickly knock out the mages, as they are protecting the summoners. After you do this, you want to make sure that none of the summoners summon anything. So if you see them raising their wand and chanting, you need to attack them. Having them summon anything is probably the worst thing that can happen, because they can summon those red creatures, they can summon so much. So it's best to just attack them over and over again. Don't even worry about the big guys until you've taken care of all the summoners. Then it's relatively easy from there. Round 5 is not that bad. What you want to do is try to attack the people, because the people in this scenario are actually stronger than the creatures. Even when helping the people, I still had all the creatures die, or even when attacking only the people, I had all the creatures die before I was able to start attacking them. And the creatures, if you've played Beneath, you know they're not that bad to deal with. They're just a couple quick stabs to the head. Round 6 tests your accuracy and patience. What you have to do is chuck glass bottles at people hidden behind these barriers. It takes a little bit of practice, but you gotta make sure whenever you're throwing that you throw over, and that you're actually hitting them. Now, it is quite scary if they teleport in, but if you see any purple lights or can tell that anything starts to move, or try to fire in your direction, start moving around a bunch to minimize how much damage you can take. This round is not that bad. What you want to do is focus your attacks on the floating skull heads, not the giant eye. So once you take out the floating skulls, the eye can just run into the fire over and over, because it's low enough to the ground, and it will eventually die if you just leave it around in a circle around the fire. That is why you want to take the skulls out first. The final round is not that bad. What you want to do immediately is take out all of the magicians that could have shields, although in this case the allies took them out. If you can keep aggro of the wizard or the necromancer on you, your creature allies can approach them and get some damage in. Try to keep the summoners alive, because it is really helpful when they summon in allies to help you. And try to take out the enemies that the necromancer summons. It's easier to take out the enemies it summons, especially the wizards it summons to protect it, while letting your allies deal with the necromancer. Eventually, the necromancer will die, killing off everything else, and that should be the 4th arena you have completed. You'll only have one left. Arena Challenge 5. I think this arena took me the longest out of any one of them to beat, so it is difficult, but possible. So, the first thing you want to do is take out the machete boss, and then use the machete to take out the pimp. It's a really simple first round. In the second round, you want to target Blackbeard so you can get the saber that he has. Once you get the saber, taking out the giant prisoner is a cinch. Rounds start to get harder as they bring in the Beneath monsters. So the first one you want to deal with is the Centurion. You can go ahead and shoot him in the head if you want. It's easier if you shoot him while closer. That way you don't hit his shield on accident. And you can also kick his shield out of the way with power attacks. Once you take out the Centurion, use his Flame Gladius to take out the creature with the sword, and it should be easy from there. This phase is a long one. If you try to do it quickly, you are definitely going to fail, because this enemy has an insane amount of health. So what you want to do is get blunt weapons and hit his hand over and over. If you try to aim for his hand, it'll be easy to back up in time whenever he swings, because he swings pretty fast and does a whole lot of damage. You can tell where he is whenever he duplicates himself by which one has the blood on him. So all you gotta do is hit him in the hand over and over again, and you can ignore the boxer. You move fast enough where you don't have to deal with them. Do not pick up the green crystal sword just yet, because it will slice off his hand and then take away your advantage of reach. Eventually, he will go down, and the boxer is easy from there. And don't worry, it does take a while. You will probably use up most of the weapons in the arena to take out that creature. Round 5 is not so bad if you keep him close to the shields. What you want to try to do is keep him close to where you spawn, because when he tries to resurrect people, there is no resurrection people to respawn over by where you spawn. As you can see, he'll try to resurrect, but nothing will pop out. Well, in that case, he was a little too close, but if you keep him around this area, like close to the back wall, he won't be able to spawn anything. If you leave him where he initially spawns, he will end up spawning a lot of enemies and making this a lot harder. So just use your weapons over and over again. With your ranged ones, you can also throw weapons, and eventually he will die. I don't like round 6. I've personally said over and over again, but I'll say it again, the Crawler is my least favorite shard enemy as it can one-shot you, no matter what you do. So, one strategy is to take him out from afar. Use sharp weapons and throw it at his legs, while keeping a distance. Another one is keeping very close. When you're close, he mostly uses melee attacks instead of his one-shot laser attacks. This allows you to do a lot of damage while keeping close. Once he dies, it's just a normal katana boss, and he's really simple to deal with. This round is easy. I never had trouble with this run. What I am currently doing is throwing the spears over there so that I can use them in close range. So you want to deal with the Pyromancer first. You just run around whenever he's flaming and then attack him over and over again while he's doing absolutely nothing. You don't have to worry about the large golem because it moves really slow and is easy to dodge. So once you kill the Pyromancer, all the golem has going for it is its large amount of health because you most likely won't get hit by it. Round 9 is a doozy. You have to defeat every single Shard Lord at once. Now, I really dislike this one, specifically because of the Deceiver and the Crawler, as they can do a lot of damage. So the first thing you want to deal with is probably the Deceiver, since it's fast and can get close to you. Now, once you take out the Deceiver, with the guns and other stuff that's around, you can deal with the other enemies. Now, there's multiple ways you can deal with the enemies. I, for one, really don't like getting close to them, specifically the Crawler. So what I ended up doing, which made this round 100% safe for me, is throwing all of the sharp objects. That way, you never get close, and you do eventually kill them all, just by throwing. And yes, you will not run out of sharp weapons whenever throwing. I have tested it, and it worked for me. And now it's time for the final round. You have to take out 2 Necromancer grunts. I don't know if they're the actual Necromancer, but they basically do the exact same thing. Now, the problem with this fight is that they can summon a 3rd Necromancer, which is not cool. But all you need to take both of them out is defeat the 2 main Necromancers. You only need to defeat those, and the 3rd one will die as well as everything else they summoned. So try your best to attack the main 2. Once it's down to it, once you've done a lot of damage, then you're basically good. There's a lot of guns in this level, and so you can just continue firing away. There's a lot. And in this case, I took out the 2 main ones. I was aiming for those the entire time instead of the minions. And with that, that would be your final arena challenge. Therefore, all of the achievements in Paint the Town Red. So, if you found this guide enjoyable and helpful, I hope you subscribe. I hope that helped, and well, guess I'll see you in the next one. Sorry about the face cam and all that too as well. These are from pretty darn old streams. My new streams, I have the video separated so that my face does not cover any of it, and it makes tutorial making from streamed videos a lot easier. But yeah, this is just from old streams, that's why I'm there. So you won't see that in future ones. But yeah, look forward to more tutorials.